Take a deep breath. Tune into the beating of your heart. And awaken to a fresh perspective. Welcome to See More with Morcie, your go-to podcast for discovering a centered path for your purpose. And what's up? My name is Morcie. I help entrepreneurs, leaders, and creatives just like you invite presence into both your personal and professional life. And in this episode, I want to share a bit with you about how I've learned to own my pace and presence in this very trend-driven culture, especially online, right? It's quite interesting. Trends were always a thing. Trends will always be a thing. It's just part of human nature. Things trend. And in the age of social media, trends seem to expand because there's so many different platforms, so many things go viral. And when something goes viral, right, that's an opportunity for you to get what you want like that, really quick. All you have to do is figure out what you got to do to go viral. And sometimes that means straying away from your values and who you are. Sometimes that means sacrificing your authenticity. When I think of authenticity, what comes to mind is staying true to your core values, perhaps your beliefs, your self-expression. And we all notice, authenticity is a huge topic these days because of this trend-driven culture. And there's so many of us looking to make sure that we don't make a fool of ourselves online because we're trying to follow a trend, right? Because sometimes when you're so far in it, so deep in it, you don't even realize that you're not being your authentic self. You're not being true to your core values. I found that for me in my journey, I didn't find myself too tempted by trends just because the topic that I share in and of itself, it's not exactly the trendiest, right? I mean, I do find that the whole space of spirituality, some may say mindfulness and meditation, is growing. Without a doubt, it's growing. But once again, it's not like a mukbang. It's not like I'm going to Target, my Target haul, things that most people, the average individual, might click on that gets average clicks, So I found through me just watching other videos and things like that and just really seeing the difference of the message that I'm putting online, I started to be more intentional about how I wanted to be online. And it's not like I started to out of nowhere. I do find that being myself has always been important to me in many ways. I remember even in middle school, the kids would roll their sleeves up. Like we'd have shirts and that were kind of long and they'd roll their sleeves to make it shorter. That was a trend. And I purposely didn't do it. I was like, I don't want to be a part of this trend. And it's not saying that I feel like I'm any better or any worse. I don't know. There's a part of me that was just like, everyone's doing it. I don't want to do what everyone's doing. So, a part of that has always been with me, just staying grounded and just remembering who I am. And there's little things that I do in my videos, what's quite trendy these days in videos is to clip the spaces, the gaps of space when someone is speaking. And that's something that's always been a no for me. I find it quite refreshing to just sit and listen to someone talk, even if there's gaps of space in between. I do find that this need to cut out the gaps of space is what is feeding this short attention span amongst a generation of people. You're wanting so badly to get to the next idea, to always receive these little dopamine hits, quick bites of entertainment, of dopamine, rather than being still and allowing those gaps of space to be. I found these gaps of space to be quite meditative in many ways, especially when it's intentional. I first recognized this by Eckhart Tolle, my favorite spiritual teacher. And I was like, man, this dude talks so slow. And then after a while, if you're just still and you sit there, it starts to be a whole meditation, just listening to him talk. It's important for us to recognize when we're craving to hear the next thing. And for me, I found that to be a spiritual practice within itself, to just listen to the flow of someone speaking without those gaps of space being cut out, like most videos are in today's culture. So I find for me, that's how a part of my value, it's a part of my self-expression to just sit here and speak. There are times when I mess up. There are times when I lose track of what I'm going to say next. And I just figure I'm just going to leave it online. I'm just going to leave it out there and flow, because it also helps my flow. I don't want to feel the need to stop and go. And that in and of itself is something that you practice. It's something that I've practiced. It's helpful for me even when I edit. I'm not a fan of editing. So if I can edit as little as possible, I don't mind putting in a little bit more work when it comes to the creative side and learning to how to just flow and have that balance between entertaining y'all in many ways, educating and sharing and storytelling, on top of honoring my flow of speech. When I first started, I used to speak so much quicker. I've even gotten comments of, I like the fast upbeat. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So, I know that I am sacrificing certain aspects of retention rate and clicks or things like that. I know I'm sacrificing those things, but it's just more important for me to speak slow and honor that aspect of myself. And it takes time sometimes to recognize what your values are, what your beliefs are. I mean, all of these things are developed in life when you make mistakes, when you go through experiences. Sometimes going through the trends are a part of it. I'm not saying I'm never going to do a trend or I've never done a trend, but I'm saying that it's important that you recognize what you'd like to do, and when you feel like you are selling your soul in a way just for clicks and views. Because when you really honor your authenticity, or in many ways just make the simple intention to do so, you recognize that the more you create, it's not really about how many, right? And I know we say this all the time. It's not about how many. It's not about how many. But that's the truth. It's more about the quality, at least for me. Maybe that's just my, perspective. My plan is a little bit different than other creators. If you're a creator and you depend on sponsorships and brand deals, perhaps the amount of followers you get are important, but I don't depend on that. So for me, it's so important for me to just find the right audience and speak to that audience. And so I don't mind just coming on here and honoring those values. So yeah, like I said, it takes time to get to know who you are. I remember reading something where this person was online writing something saying that, authenticity is raw and messy and this and that. And this person was just saying how everyone was kind of being phony in a way, phony enough to just get someone to buy their product, right? And so, I was reading that and I was kind of having to laugh. I was having to laugh at it. And then it also made me question myself. And I started to think and say, am I being authentic enough online? Like, do I need to share more? And I sat and I thought and I said, no, I'm not even really like that in my normal life. So why would I come on here and be all, if that's not me? I think in many ways it is a matter of being self-aware of what you do. And it's okay to have a level of professionalism if you want to when you show up online. It doesn't make you any less of, out of touch with reality or not yourself. It's okay. It's actually quite welcoming in many ways. It doesn't mean that you're not being yourself. I think authenticity in many ways can just be you being honest and saying, I'm a little nervous right now, or saying, hey, everyone, is probably likes to share like, hey, I reached this many followers and this many followers. And you can just say, hey, I don't have much to share about that, but I do have this to share, right? Little things like that. It shows that you're honoring yourself, you're honoring who you are and where you are right now. And that's a big part of being present in the moment and inviting that presence into both your personal and professional life and making that intention to be centered in your purpose. That's when I decided to make a shift into what I speak about and how I speak about what I share, and the people that I coach and the courses that I make and the books that I write and all those little things. That was my main value, was finding a centered path for your purpose, because I do find so much interest and love in being a leader and a creative and building a business and just really making a living off of something that makes you happy. Of course, it's not easy. I've shared this in so many podcast episodes. But when you make that path, no matter where you are, even if you're working a 9 to 5 and you're making small steps to go full time, it's still, for me, so exciting to listen to those who are in that space and on that journey, or have already been on that journey and are well into their, being financially stable. This right here is my childhood room. All right. When I went off to college, my mom changed it into her office, but this is my childhood room. I had a whole plan. The plan fell through, so I'm back home and starting over again. It's been about 5-6 years, and there's been ups and downs and highs and lows. And from that, character was built. Authenticity was realized and recognized, my core values and beliefs, and even the idea of not even holding on so strongly to my beliefs, which is a topic for another podcast episode. But it's important to be aware in that, allowing yourself to dabble and explore trends and not feeling guilty. This is an episode where I'm here to bash on trendy things, but to encourage self-awareness and exploration, and at the same time, start being aware of what are your values so you don't sell your soul and then wake up one day and realize, I don't like what I'm doing. If that does happen, then that's okay. It was a part of your life journey, but at least you can see the light and recognize, there is another way, and you don't have to be afraid to make a turn. I shared in my last podcast episode about how I deleted my social media account of 30K followers, and I felt so good after. Sometimes you have to make those big pivots to honor yourself and to honor your vision. And maybe your vision changes a little bit, but that was a part of me staying true to my authenticity. So in this trend-driven world, recognize, 1, it's okay to explore. 2, find out what your core values are. Figure it out. Explore that. We're always changing. There's parts of us that remain the same, and there's parts of us that change. And it's okay if you have an opinion that's different then that's different from 5 minutes ago. You're allowed to. In fact, in many ways, that's a good thing. It shows that you're able to see different perspectives. But at the same time, it's important to find that groundedness in who you are and not being convinced of something you don't truly believe in, being convinced of something because everyone else is doing it. It's important to exercise that. And that's how you really get to know yourself. And sometimes it's a little bit scary. It's a part of the spiritual journey, the self-discovery journey. It's a little scary digging deep and being alone with our thoughts and really having to look at ourselves in the mirror. But you always come out wonderful on the other side. It's worth it. Coming from someone who's been there and done that, and here now in a place where I'm making peace, no matter where I am in life. That's one of my values is to be at peace with wherever I am right now and honor this moment, because this moment is temporary. So be here fully. Honor yourself, honor your values, and I encourage you to subscribe to my newsletter, The Enlightened Entrepreneur. This is a space where you can expand your awareness on what it means to be centered, on this path for your purpose, what it means to invite in presence and honor your blisscipline. A big part of honoring your spiritual journey and diving into who you are is your blisscipline. And I like to call this, it's a devotion, it's a discipline towards your breath work and meditation and actually feeling peace and joy. There's so many highs and lows on this journey. It's easy to get stuck in that low frequency and think that that is what life is. Create the story that that is what life is. But when you honor blisscipline, you recognize that life can be so much better. How you feel in this exact moment, no matter your circumstance, you can have high vibrations, feel joy, and be at peace in this moment. You are grounded enough in who you are, your values, your self-expression, and what you believe to honor your authenticity and choose what you want over a trend, over just getting something to get views and not really concerning, yourself with who's following you and who's looking at you and who's actually, going to help in the cycle of giving and receiving when you're posting online. Makes sense? So enroll in The Enlightened Entrepreneur. I created this with this in mind, y'all. I've got plans making this a community, Q&A sessions, webinars, Discords. Be a part of it. Be the first. I've got a couple people. Shout out to those who became founding members and premium subscribers. I am absolutely so grateful. I'm actually sending videos to those who become premium members to The Enlightened Entrepreneur. So I encourage you to join. This is podcast episode. This is podcast episode number 4 out of 5 for my birthday week. All right. On Saturday, October 5th, I will be turning 31 years old. I'm not really like a birthday week type person. I usually just celebrate it on the day. But I'm in my 30s. I'm feeling like, let's celebrate life. And I want to share it with y'all through these podcast episodes. So if you've been following along throughout the week, I hope you've been enjoying. I've been doing a little bit more storytelling, so that's been fun. So I just want to let you know that I'm so grateful for you. Whether you've been watching me since some of my first YouTube videos and podcast episodes, or whether you just found this podcast, I just want to say thank you. I am so grateful for your comments. They're so deep, so reflective. They truly show that, my vision and the message that I'm putting out, it's doing its thing. And I can continue enjoying this journey. And it's those moments like that I remember when I'm down. I remember y'all's comments. I remember y'all's love. everybody who was there when I was doing Here Now live streams. Don't worry, I'm going to get back to that soon. I don't know when, but it's not dead. Trust me. But all of y'all in Here Now live streams, I'm so grateful. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much. This is a week, a celebration of life for me. Every year, I'm happy to get older. So I'm sure by the time I'm like 50, 60, I'm going to be ecstatic. All right. I'm not trying to be one of those people who is not happy about getting older. The older I get, the wiser I get, and the more fun that I have with life and the more peace I feel. So I just want to say thank you. Be sure to subscribe to The Enlightened Entrepreneur. Subscribe to this channel and follow this podcast on Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Music. It's all out there. I'm sending you peace, love, wholeness. My name is Morcie. I'm sending you peace, love, wholeness.